Late Night L.O.A.D. Late Night L.O.A.D. Late Night L.O.A.D. with Wookie and Leprechaun. Late Night L.O.A.D. Late Night L.O.A.D. Late Night L.O.A.D. Late Night L.O.A.D. with Wookie and Leprechaun.
And here we are. Welcome to the Late Night Load. And tonight's your crew is Leprechaun, the Wicked Wookie, and Web C myself. I'll be in the background doing production and talking trash, doing all the funs that gets us off our asses. Everybody, tonight's episode is going to talk about a lot of crazy things. I think we're going to start off with this expanded Earth theory, but we'll trickle back into the last couple episodes conversation of like Anunnaki and Sumerian texts and stuff, and we'll go back to our buddy over there that gave us some really good information from that page Leprechaun sent us to view that video from last week. And I was scrolling through his videos, and he's got quite a few, so
Yeah.
we can definitely look at another one of his tonight. But tonight's first video is all about. I got it from the Origin of Expanded Earth. The YouTube page that posted this video is called See the Pattern. See the pattern. All right. I want to make sure I read that right. They're a pretty cool page. I don't know how in depth this is going to go, but it's going to be pretty interesting because, like, as you can see already, the first image that I'm showing you is what I was just talking about with the guys before we started. It all starts with it all compacted and together, and then it slowly shows the Earth separating with the oceans getting larger. And I was like, that's crazy. It's a good addition to all the theories that we're already looking into and talking about. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this up and we're going to get into it.
What you may not be aware of is that there is a competing theory explaining the formation we see, which takes a totally different approach. This is the idea of the expanding Earth.
You guys can hear?
Was very keen on this idea, as it would
Yep.
fit with the idea of matter being created at certain places, like the center of galaxies. What may surprise you is that one of the proponents of this concept early on was none other than Charles Darwin. Let's explore how this concept came about. The idea of an expanding Earth can be found in mythology. Amenidad is an ancient collection of Zoroastrian myths. In chapter 2, verse 18 to 9,
He said Zoroastrian. So that's a culture, a religion that we haven't looked into yet.
No, I was trying to find it too. I was trying to look up more about Yana.
the prayer of his people.
Has somebody got a TV on at their place?
Yeah, hold on.
I'm getting a.
Then he stepped forward in light southward on the way of the sun, and he pressed the earth with a golden seal, and bored it with a poniard. Speaking thus, O Spenta Armati,
How's that?
kindly open asunder and
Much better,
stretch
thank you.
myself afar, to bear flock and herds and men. And Yima made the earth grow larger by 1/3 than it was before, and there came flocks and herds and men, at their will and wish, as many as he wished. The first mention of this in a publication comes from Nicholas Oritham, who dates from 1323.
So am I hearing that right? They just said this dude just came out of nowhere and said, let there be shit, and things just started coming out? Is that what they're saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, what I made out of it is Yana expanded the lands for humankind, for them to have more space for cattle and etc.
Okay.
To 1382, and he wrote the following. From above, it follows that if by tomorrow the world would become 100 or 1,000 times larger or smaller than it is now, since all its parts grow or diminish in proportion, all things would appear tomorrow just like now, as if nothing had changed. Similarly, if the center of the earth was a concavity filled with air about the size of an apple, if such a concavity became a little bigger and growing up to become the greatest, you could not find a limit at which this growth can be said that the earth is out of its natural place, precisely because large and small are relative terms. In 1834, during the second voyage of HMS Beagle, Charles Darwin was investigating steppe plains in Patagonia. To him, that a huge area of South America had been uplifted to its present height by a succession of elevations which acted over the whole of the space with nearly an equal force. Darwin's hypothesis was that the uplift at this continental scale required the gradual expansion of some central mass acting by intervals on the outer crust.
Yeah.
In 1835, he extended his concept to include the Andes as part of a curved enlargement of the Earth's crust due to the action of one connected force. In 1888, Ivan Osipovich Yarkovsky suggested that some sort of ether is absorbed within the Earth and transformed into new chemical elements, forcing the celestial bodies to expand. This correlated with the idea of a push gravity and particle ether, which we have previously discussed. These.
All right. So I've looked into the ether, what it is and stuff. It's always like that mysterious addition to the equation that balances out the equation, but they never give you like a perfect description of what this stuff is, what it's supposed to be or whatever. So from all the studying I've done of aether, whatever you want to call it, dark matter is what we're calling it nowadays, is the more popular term for it nowadays, is dark matter. We don't know exactly what it's made of, but we do know that it does have an actual calculable mass, and we can like view it, but we can't. If we were to try and go through it or whatever, we wouldn't notice anything. For us as humans going through it wouldn't make a difference. But they're saying that it has, when you're going through it, you feel like the opposite of when you are outside of the negative. It's like, in DC Comics, they have the Flash, and he has like different powers in the Force, and there's like a negative force that the Reverse Flash taps into, and then the Flash has his regular Speed Force and stuff. Well, it's kind of like they describe it like that, and I don't know. What do you guys know about the ether? Nothing. Got nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not something I've dove into, so I got no good feedback for you on that one.
All right. So yeah, that's. I just wanted to stop and touch on that because that was a new term that is coming up in this one.
Christoph Hilgenberg and Nikola Tesla had put forward the idea of the absorption and transformation of ether energy into normal matter.
Oh, commercial.
For your eyes only.
Yeah, for my eyes only.
In 1889 and 1909, Roberto Mantovani published a hypothesis of Earth expansion and continental drift. He assumed that a closed continent covered the entire surface of the globe, but that this must have been a much smaller Earth. Thermal expansion led to volcanic activity, which broke the landmass into smaller continents. These then drifted away from each other because of the further expansion at the rip zones, where oceans currently lie. An alternative was put forward by John Joly, who was an Irish physicist and professor of geology at the University of Dublin. He is famous for his development of radiotherapy in the treatment of cancer. He developed techniques to estimate the age of rock based on radioactive decay. His proposal was of an Earth expansion and Earth contraction cycle. He assumed that heat flowed from the radioactive decay inside Earth and surpassed the cooling of the Earth's exterior. Together with British geologist Arthur Holmes, he proposed a hypothesis in which Earth loses its heat by a cyclic period of expansions. This expansion would lead to cracks and joints in the Earth's interior, and this could fill with magma. This was then followed by a cooling phase where the magma would freeze and become solid rock again, causing the Earth to shrink. At the same time as these ideas were being put forward, the now accepted continental drift theory was also gaining traction. After initially supporting this idea of continental drift, Samuel Warren Carey became an advocate.
Okay, I want to hold on. We're gonna go back. They were just talking about how they showed like 4 sections of Earth pop out, and then the Earth swelled up, and then out of those cracks is where the new land would form. Okay, so back when we were kids, there was a TV show called Bill Nye the Science Guy. In one of his episodes, they showed video of this underwater fault line. And why am I getting feedback?
That's crazy. Yeah, I don't. Why are you?
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm getting feedback. That's strange. Hold on. Hello? Nope, still getting it. La la la. My phone is acting weird. All right.
What
is that
about
better?
now?
No, it's gone now.
Okay.
No, I am still getting a little bit of feedback.
You're coming through clear on my end, so.
All right. So on the episode of Bill Nye the Science Guy that I was talking about, they showed this long fault line under the Earth or under the ocean, and it was full of like magma, and the Earth was like expanding. Like they didn't say it was expanding, but what it looked like is it looked like one side was growing while one side was pushing itself back in. So it kind of did this, like the 2 plates of the Earth were doing this, but where they touched, it was hot like magma, and it was like looked like it was trying to build up land as it was pushing itself and stuff. So where they're coming from with this theory, I mean, like it makes a lot of sense that like. But what in the world is going on with my? I don't know what's going on with my audio.
So with that, it was also I also while I was looking up the expanding Earth theory, I came across the seafloor spreading, and pretty much what the seafloor spreading was is kind of explaining exactly what you were just saying, where that fault line, it actually as the magma's coming up and then cooling off and creating new rocks on the seafloor, it's pushing out the older rocks, and they're actually, there's a video if you probably looked further down where you found this one where it talks about it, and it's pretty much it's just slowly pushing itself outward on the bottom of the ocean, and they're finding like all of the newest rocks, on the planet were right there along that fault line as magma was coming up and then creating new rocks, and then while doing that, it was pushing out the older ones further out away to where the older rocks were much closer, were right along the sea, the edge of the sea towards our continents.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was saying. Like I remember seeing it like from like way back when we were kids, like them having footage of it and everything, and them trying to just explain it as a natural phenomenon, like it only happens there or something. But I don't know. It was weird. Thought I'd bring that up and mention that, and I'm glad you were able to see that. Like, there's some reference footage further down.
He demonstrated that subduction could not balance the seafloor spreading at oceanic ridges. In 1956, he proposed a mass increase in the planets and stated that the final solution to the problem is only possible in a cosmological perspective. In more recent times, both Klaus Vogel and James Maxwell have defended Carey's expansion Earth hypothesis. One of the main objections to this model was the question of where this mass would come from. The fact that there was no demonstrable mechanism for this happening led to it being ignored and nowadays labeled as pseudoscience. But there were others who attempted to overcome this problem in a different way. Paul Dirac suggested in 1938 that the universal gravitational constant had decreased in the billions of years since its existence.
I've been
This
following
led
a lot of
German
his
physicist
work lately.
Pascal Jordan to a modification of general relativity and to propose in 1964 that all planets slowly expand. Another idea came from J. Marvin Herndon, who proposed that the Earth originated in its protoplanetary stage from a gas giant. During the early phase of the solar system, the dense atmosphere of the gas giant was stripped off by infrared eruptions from the sun. The remnant was a rocky planet. Due to the loss of the pressure from its atmosphere, there would have been a series of decompressions that would have ruptured and expanded the surface of the Earth rapidly. He called his theory whole Earth decompression dynamics and saw the seafloor spreading at the divergent plate boundaries, an effect of this proposed system. In his opinion, mantle convection used in the concept of plate tectonics is physically impossible. The main arguments given against the idea of an expanding Earth are as follows. The Earth has not increased in size over the period we have been measuring it. This, I believe, is somewhat open to debate, but it is something that we will come back to in future videos. Imaging of the lithosphere fragments within the
That
mantle
right there.
supports the lithosphere consumption by subduction. And lastly, the fact that no credible, in terms of their mechanisms, has been provided to supply this extra mass to allow for the expansion. And again, this is something that we will come back to in a future video. Though it is important to realize that although this theory of Earth expansion is not accepted by the mainstream geologists, Perry is widely regarded as making substantial contributions to the field of tectonics and has had a considerable influence on the initial acceptance of the continental drift model. In future videos, I would like to take some of these aspects and drill down to understand the main problems with the current tectonic.
So that was basically it for that video. So that was a good video. It was just a simple explanation of where the conversation was going. Over on the other page was somebody was trying to allude to Earth expansion that way, but I was like, they were talking about something like hominids were found 200,000 years older than we found them before outside of where we found them. This was a report on ancient Greece, 400,000-year-old hominid skull inside of a cave, preserved with the minerals of the cave from dripping and stuff. That was where this all came from, where the study was coming from, and I led it into talking about my theory on how the Earth came to be as it is today, what I've been collecting and stuff. And my theory so far goes back all the way to Pangea, and I think Pangea stuck around a lot longer than people think it did. And I think that actually, like an asteroid or a meteor came and hit the Earth and caused Pangea to break apart and start moving, and it moved faster than we originally say it did. Like it moved in the way we say it did. It just, I think it moved a lot faster, like thousands of years instead of hundreds of thousands of years. And that now what we're measuring is we're measuring the slowdown of the continents. We're actually seeing them slow down and stop moving, and that we're saying, oh, the ocean levels are rising. Well, maybe we're just seeing that the continents are slowing down, and that's where part of my theory is from, because my other section of that theory explains why we're finding this ancient civilization that is not what we're being told it is all over the earth. We're finding it everywhere, and it's not the ancient civilization we're being told it is. I don't get how ancient Egypt is popping up on all 7 continents. It's not, like, that's not adding up to me. So I'm feeling like that civilization was a civilization that might have expanded all the way back to Pangea.
Well, yeah, and I mean that kind of goes back to, I mean, like the pyramids of Giza. I mean, if you look at like some of the chambers and some of the channels that they go through, I mean, they had to put in railings and wooden steps to even be able to go up some of those. It's not meant for a sarcophagus to get brought down in some big ceremony. It's not, I think, I wouldn't be surprised if, the ancient Egypt, inherited those pyramids. They were there, and they kind of, were like, well, let's do something with this this structure that's already here. It's not something they put up. And I
Yeah.
would totally buy that, versus some of what we're told.
Yep. Now I'm not going to discredit and say aliens built it. I'm just going to say I think there was a much larger civilization that existed and it got taken out. And we have proof of one of these events, like we've been talking about it, the Younger Dryas impact, like that meteor or comet or whatever that hit and caused all that damage. That could have very well been the exact one that caused the continents to separate and everything. Um, when we take and dissect the story of Babylon within the Bible, if we were to replace a few of the things, instead of it being the city, we turn it to the world, because that's what they were talking about. They were like, the city of Babylon is actually the world in representation. And that's what all the people of Babylon knew, was just that. They thought the whole world was the city of Babylon. So if we take that and we use that and just deconstruct it from a city and turn it into the whole world, just say the whole world was Babylon. And then something celestial came from out of the sky and destroyed the Tower of Babel. Well, what will we relabel the Tower of Babel? The land, the mass pyramids, whatever we call it, the structures we were building on the land came and destroyed it, separating the land, separating the people, separating their languages, separating their cultures, separating them completely, right? And that's where I go, okay, if we were to dissect that story from the Bible and from the Torah and wherever else the story of Babel comes from, like, I think there's a couple other places that have it. But if we take that story and we dissect it down to the broader aspect of what could have happened, I'm finding that those pieces fit the puzzle. Like something came, blew the planet up, and changed the way society was for a while, because it set us back. It was like a big reset type of deal.
Maybe it was the moon. Maybe the moon hit us.
Maybe that could have been what turned us into what we are, is the moon. That's a very good. I like that. I like that a lot.
It's slowly moving away from us. So, I mean, that, makes me think something, I mean,
I definitely think that the Earth expansion theory has some merits, but the kind of the issue that I take at this point was that it's not accepted by the scientific field as of right now. Is they say that the Earth has not increased in mass or size in the time that it's being measured. Well, okay, that's fair, but realistically, how long has man had the legitimate technology and skill to actually measure the mass and diameter of the planet?
Yeah. 40 years?
Yeah,
Yeah.
If we want to be really generous, let's say 100 years.
Yeah.
Right.
And
So 120-ish years that they've had the ability to possibly measure the mass and diameter of the planet. This is something that takes place over hundreds of thousands of millions of years. So so yeah, sure, in 100 years the planet hasn't expanded exceptionally in mass or diameter. Well, we're talking about something that's taking eons to happen. So 100 years is a drop in the bucket, and it basically means you have no factual data at this point.
No, you're looking at what? I'm just throwing a number out there, but it'd be somewhere around 0.0001%. Maybe, there's probably a lot more zeros there, in all real.
Yeah. It's not a very big movement.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not, I absolutely agree with the push and pull of continental shift and all the rest of that. and gravitation playing into it. We've been measuring other celestial bodies like the sun and so on and so forth, and they expand and contract.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So why is the Earth not expanding and contracting? And it's just not. Again, it's just not expanding or contracting at a measurable rate that we have the ability or the amount of time to actually say definitively, yes, it is, or no, it isn't.
Yep. 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 Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah,
Logic kind of states that anything that's moving is going to be difficult to measure, because you can't put your foot down on the planet and be like, okay, we're going to start here and nothing's going to change. It just doesn't doesn't make sense.
Yep.
Yeah, so we can just move right into the Lost Book of Enki too. So I think that's what we'll move right into here. It's like only a 14-minute video, so we'll take a couple pauses while we're watching and talk about some of the topics he brings up. Bringing it back to Sumerian gods and the beginning of creation. So that's what we're talking about. And so I'm going to load that in. And yeah, I agree though with the expanding Earth theory. It really plays in well with everything else that's being put on the table right now, to add to that whole pile of what we can disseminate and put as a puzzle piece that doesn't sound too obscure. You know what I mean? Like it actually has some feasibility as puzzle pieced into the right spots.
Yeah,
So
if you look at the theory as a whole and trying to put a puzzle together that makes logical sense, then yes, expanded Earth theory definitely has a place.
yeah. So, all right. So here we go. Anunnaki, Lost Book of Enki 2, Episode 2.
Anunnaki, Episode 2, The Abduction of Enki-Sar, the Scribe of the Gods.
Bindusar.
Let us make man in our image, like us. This code from the Bible has been originated from the Hebrew text on Torah. The plural is clear and explicit. It makes reference to the word Elohim. According to the Hebrew tradition, Elohim is the majestic plural for God, but this fact should at least cause us strangeness. Unfortunately, for most people, observe the plural and let us do in our image and in our likeness don't cause any problems. But for me and also for you who came to watch this video, it's different. We are about to start then search and a journey to a distant past in which we can find the origin and the creation of human beings.
I'm digging some of this graphics
During
this guy
journey,
uses. I
we
like
will
it.
meet the beings called Anunnaki, those from heaven to earth came. For those who think it's just another crazy conspiracy theory, we need to say that we have much to thank the scientific institutions that help these impressive discoveries. They are very recent in our history. In the mid-19th century, archaeologists financed by many museums around the world, such as the British Museum, discovered more than 30,000 clay tablets in an ancient library. The library found would have belonged to the king Ashurbanipal II and was named as the Library of Nineveh. The writing on these tablets was cuneiform and dates back to the
See if I can
first
get a good
civilization
zoom in.
in history, the Sumer.
Oh, come
The
on.
documents
We'll
found
go back. We'll go
were
back.
Sumerian origin,
You're good.
but also Akkadian and
That
Assyrian.
stuff is crazy.
inscription known as the Behishtur.
Okay,
Sumer,
they're about to
the
show you some
documents
weird
found
writing. That
were
stuff's weird.
Sumerian
Not this.
origin, but also Akkadian and Assyrian.
This stuff is weird. What is this? I don't know if we're supposed to be pausing and zooming in on this stuff, but okay, so at first glance you're like, oh, it's like a hieroglyphic. Well, yeah, but it's not the same stuff coming from Egypt. So this is different, right?
No, it
So,
almost makes me think of like a mix of like that, like, and almost like, like ancient Chinese, where the writing went up and down and it's a lot of lines and stuff too.
yeah, or what they do over in like South America.
Yep.
Aztec.
The ancient writings, the ancient writings in South America, Aztec, the Olmec writings,
Yep.
they all look similar to that too, where they're heavy on the characters. Like those characters are heavily used, like this little bunny rabbit dude. And
I think if we kind of go back, like, again, this is just kind of my kind of take on it. If you want to really give this one people, one one all powerful being thing, that from all the different cultures throughout the earth, you can always draw parallels to other civilizations, and other religions. There always seems to be the same unifying thread throughout of, this is, there's one all-powerful being, and that dictates this is how we're to live and this is how we're to think, and this and that. But there's always parallels between the different cultures, between the different languages, the dialects, like there's all these parallels that you can draw, which just kind of goes towards the whole concept of unifying us as all one people. Yeah, okay, we all look a little different, we all sound a little different, and we may believe a little different things, but it kind of goes back to one all-powerful being versus, like I said, there's too many parallels that go on between the different cultures.
Yeah. Yeah, and with that, so some of the other puzzle pieces are coming together. When I was just talking about, I was actually just watching something on TV about where I've been talking about the many ape theory as well, where like different humans could have possibly been modified out of different ape species. And then when we look back at the story that we're about to dive deeper into here, they talk about how they modified many different ape species on Earth and tried to get it to where they could take their godly DNA and finally mix it with the ape DNA to get what we are today. That's the whole concept of the Sumerian gods and what they did.
Yeah.
So them possibly doing it with multiple different apes to get multiple different types of people for different types of work is also a possibility, because, well, a smaller person would be good for catching things and going after things, and then a larger person's good for manual labor, and so you would
different than how we use dogs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and
essentially.
look at the way we breed our dogs. We breed our dogs that same way, so that's already instilled within us, to do that, because we just naturally did it to the wolf, and then we created so many different dogs from one wolf, like in that was a crazy
selective breeding.
Yep, selective breeding, or there's another word for it. Preferential breeding or whatever, the survival of the fittest type scenario.
the translation and understanding of these texts, such as Samuel Noah Kramer, Jeremy Allen Black, George Smith, Irving Finkel, among many others. Those authors and their studies compound an interesting body of research and investigation texts. But beyond academic studies and official science, we have a name that highlights and deserves our respect above this: Zechariah Sitchin. Sitchin cannot be considered an archaeologist or sumerologist, not even an historian. Zechariah Sitchin has a bachelor degree in economic history. However, what stands out about Sitchin's name is that he claimed to be able to read Sumerian, Akkadian, and Assyrian tablets. Sitchin was born in Azerbaijan and studied Semitic language as well as cuneiform writings. Zechariah Sitchin studied for 30 years before starting publishing his books. The series, called the Earth Chronicles, is composed of several books.
Let's read those titles, huh? Hey, what are you barking at? Do I need to get up and look so I can let you out the door? All right, the titles: The 12th Planet, Stairway to Heaven, The Wars of Gods and Men, The Lost Realms, When Time Began, The Cosmic Code, and The End of Days. So these are the codings. So basically, it looks like he's, the books of the Bible is what he's written here. Like if you just give them nicer names or different names, those are interesting ways to relabel the Bible. I can't tell. I don't think anybody's here. Go lay down. All right.
Studies and conclusions. Years later, and with studies at a more advanced level, Sitchin deepened his ideas about Sumerian mythology, as well as other comparatives with traditional religions and other mythologies around the world. As a profound connoisseur of the Anunnaki subject, Sitchin published the Lost Book of Enki, Memories and Prophecies of an Extraterrestrial God. This book brings the attestation of Indupsar in the 14 tablets, the complete story of the Anunnaki, which according to Sitchin means those who came from heaven to earth. On this book is reported the entire history that would have been dictated by the extraterrestrial Anunnaki god and scientist Enki to his chosen scribe of the gods, the scribe master called Indupsar. From now on, we will learn about the abduction of Indupsar and the attestation of the scribe of the gods.
Ooh.
The attestation of Indupsar. My name is Indupsar, also known as the Scribe Master. I came to report that in the second month of the 7th year after the episode known as the Great Calamity, the 7th day, I was summoned by Enki, the great god and master. I was in Eridu City and had survived to the evil wind. I wandered through the desert looking for the dry branches.
So, something that I've noticed is a lot of these Sumerian gods. One thing they look like to me, as a mythological thing, is they look like sphinxes. They all have a very sphinx-like look to them, with the wings and the way they're positioned and the way they hold themselves and the way they're drawn and depicted. They somewhat always have that sphinx-like look to them, and that could be
Or like some of them where they have like the 4 arms instead of 2 makes me think of Shiva.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Made a fire. That's when I noticed a rear poo coming from the south. The tone was reddish, and there was no sound. When the spacecraft touches the Earth, 4 long feet came out, and all the beauty of the equipment was gone. I prostrated myself on the ground in reverence. When I looked up, I noticed 2 emissaries close to me. They had human faces, but their clothes blinked.
That's weird.
Endupsar they called. Endupsar. The great god Lord Enki asks for you. Don't be afraid. You are pure, and we are here to take you with us above earth. And then the whirlpool rose like fire. Each one of them holding one of my hands took me with great speed. And between the earth and the sky I could see the waters, plants, and mountains. Suddenly they dropped in my hands, and I felt like as if I had fallen to the ground, and if I was empty of the spirit of life. When the senses returned to me, then a voice called, Endupsar. Endupsar. I listened, but I didn't know where the voice was coming from, and who was speaking. And the voice continued, You are a descendant of Adaba. I choose you to be my scribe. You must write my words on the tablets. And then I could see a workspace and a writing table, a table with fine carved stones on the table. And Israel's voice continued, Endupsar, my servant, son of the city of Eridu. I am an Enki, your God, your Lord. I'm worried. That's why I came to you. The great calamity descended upon humanity. I have a desire to record the truth of events so that gods and men will know what happened. Not since the great flood had a calamity descended upon the earth. It has been 7 years, and this should not have happened. I, Enki, have failed. I did everything to stop it, but I've failed. Was it luck or fate? One day, the future will judge. The earth will shake. Rivers will change cars. There will be darkness during the day. There will be fire in the sky. And on this day, the heavenly God will be sealed. Some will survive, some will not. And the loop of repetition will be sealed. For this region, Endupsar, I, Enki, have called you. The future is hidden in the past. 40 is my secret number among the gods. And so, for 40 days and 40 nights, I will speak, and you will write. During these days, you will not eat or drink. You will only feed on water and bread.
There's a bunch of religions that go through this type of process. The Christian Catholic religion has Lent. There's the Muslim religion with Ramadan, and there's a Buddhist. The Buddhists also have a version of this too that they go through as part of their path to enlightenment. So that's pretty amazing. This is one of our first encounters of the 40 days of fasting.
So that you can keep your work. The voice fell silence one more, and I could see a little more of the environment where I was. There was a plate of bread and a bowl of water. And Dutsar said, Enki, eat his bread and drink this water. This will keep you fed for 40 days and 40 nights. I did everything as it was instructed. Then he asked me, And the Tsar Master scribe, what do you see? I see smooth tables of pure blue as the sky and the stylus. This one in the Tsar is a different material. The boards are smooth made of lapis lazuli, and the stylus is the work of a god. His body is made of electrum, and the teeth are divine crystal. The material will easily adapt to your hand and will make your register just like wet clay. I touched the instruments and felt something like a divine energy taking over me. Then the great Enki began to speak. The reports were impressive. There were wars and destruction, but also stories of love, joy, and compassion. 14 tablets were written. Sometimes his words were beautiful, once heavy, bitter, sad, as well as bright and happy. The most impressive fact that was reported to me was about creation, genetic engineering, and manipulation. Several tablets were written one after another on all their faces. When Enki, the great god, interrupted my sensation, saying, "For 40 days and 40 nights you have recorded my words. Your work here is done. Now take another tablet and record your attestation." Even though I could not see the great god, I took the tablet and recorded the attestation that you appreciate now. Then Enki, the great god, took the word again. At the right time, the tablets will be found, because the future is hidden in the past. There will be a book of testimonies from the past, and a book of predictions about the future. You must store the tablets in a safe and locked place. For you, Indubsar, you had the privilege of spoke with a great God, even though you haven't saw me. You are pure and will be my voice over the people. Tell them to be fair, because a long life is based on that. In 70 years the cities will be rebuilt, and the crops will grow again. Certainly peace will exist, although wars will also take place. Know that the old gods will leave the earth, and the new gods will have to decree the new fates. At the end of days, fate will prevail, because the future is foretold in the past. And Dunsar, you should talk about all that with people. Appreciating the pause, I, in Dunsar, prostrated myself on the ground. I asked, how can I tell them? And the great god Enki said, the words you use to speak shall appear to you in a dreams and visions. And then there will be other prophets chosen to work. And in the end, new earth and a new heaven will arise. After that, other prophets will not be needed. A huge silence could be felt, and the presence of everyone had been extinguished. When I realized it, I was in the fields outside the Eridu city. What?
All right. So that is pretty much the end of that one. Only a few seconds left. That was a good read off. I like what they're talking about. It basically sounds like Moses in the burning bush. Kind of along the storylines of that. God dictating to you the writings and stuff that need to be scripted down to man. Another one of those types of situations. Obviously, not the same because the cuneiform tablets are really long and a lot of information, and then the Ten Commandments are really short, cut to the point. But it's still like the setup for the story is still kind of the same. The God called him up higher and had him sit and scribe out on tablets the dictation from the God, type of situation. That was an interesting thing that I was pulling from the end of that story. I don't know if you guys had made any connection with that through other religions.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're pretty spot on with that. I mean, obviously, I don't know. Yeah, yeah, I'm not gonna dig into my own head on that. I agree though with that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
there's
that
there's
good.
absolutely again it's more parallels drawn between different tales, right? Um, and you have again in all kinds of religions, uh, you know, the higher being calls us up and dictates how we should be and passes along information that is taken down and supposed to be put in a safe place. Um, you know, it's again parallels in different religions, but the same underlying thread. Uh, it's to me, it just points more towards that there is that how an individual views this higher power, right? Whether you view it as God or Allah or Buddha or whoever, it's basically the same story, right? Yes, there are variations and slightly different um, takes on what is said and what is done, but there's these underlying tones that are the same throughout.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you think about when this is referring to happening versus the time that has passed. I mean, different cultural outlooks. I mean, you're gonna the stories. I mean, we've all played the telephone game as a kid. Small
Yeah,
things change in one simple word. Being passed along. In stories where you're gonna have one storyteller that wants to make it more animated and more exciting. Another one that's gonna want to simplify it a little more. And so, I mean, I think you get a lot of that, and then you also get some of the political part of it too, with religion, where some people are going to see it as a means of controlling the masses, and they're going to manipulate some of those words to some degree to play in their best interest.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, one thing
So
that I, one thing that kind of draws me, uh, that just kind of cements home this whole theory that we all come from the same place is, um, I remember being a teenager back in the 90s, and I know that's a long time ago, um, but yeah, I remember reading uh, this article about a, a a group of islands in the South Pacific where there was an indigenous tribe, and they had anytime anyone came onto the islands that was not from the tribe, they immediately killed them. And
yeah.
to this day, and anthropologists, they'll fly over the island in a helicopter, and the local tribe is flinging arrows, flinging spears. Like, they don't want anything to do with us because they're terrified, because they've never seen technology. They don't know what a helicopter is. They don't know what a plane is. All
No.
they see is just this thing in the sky, and it's like, oh my God, is it coming to destroy us?
You can imagine what their stories are like.
Right.
Their
So,
campfire stories.
well,
Well, and
yeah,
it's illegal to visit that island now, and I mean, because they also got to worry about the fact that they've been so disconnected that I mean, we could just carry simple diseases that would kill them off immediately.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Very
But
similar to what happened down in South America when the Europeans were first exploring.
right. So I'm not. You've clearly, you guys have heard about the same thing that I'm talking about, because
Uh huh.
It's
it's
Sentinel
illegal to
Island.
go.
Yep.
Okay,
That's
thank you.
called
Sentinel
Sentinel
Island.
Island. It took me a
My
second to
dad, my
remember.
dad and I were just actually just. It's funny. We were just talking about that island today. We were
Yeah,
like going to like he said it just the way you were saying it and everything. I was just like, that's funny.
but yeah, like, it's illegal to go there. Like, no
Mhm.
one can go there. scientists can't get onto the island because they want to get on the island. They want to study these people to see what it's like, and they can't do it because even if they get onto the island, they're going to be dead in no time,
Yep.
or they're going to wipe out the indigenous population
Right.
because they've got the common
Because
cold.
there's no,
Yeah.
smallpox, common cold, diphtheria, any little thing that could be on our skin at the time, a staph infection,
Could just
super
run
easily,
rampant.
yeah.
So
So
I mean, but could you imagine? Like, let's think about it from their perspective, right? There's this thing floating in the sky. Like, they're
Yeah,
terrified. They're absolutely terrified.
this unexplainable higher power, or
Right.
Yeah.
being, or unexplainable event. You know what I mean? And how do those stories get told to the younger generations? You know what I mean? When they're sitting around the
Right.
fire, or whatever ceremonies they're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like I said, I know it's not the same, but it kind of harkens back to the same concept of this, of these stories that we're watching. It's kind of the reverse, right? Like, in our early stages of man, we saw something that maybe we couldn't explain, and this is the best way we can explain it. Right? Like, it's just like, I'm not saying it's a conspiracy or a conspiracy theory. It's just, like I said,
that's for the next segment of our show.
Yeah. Like, it just, when you start putting all of this stuff together, right? There's parallels in all kinds of religions. And then things like the Sentinel Island thing, where you can't go there because of the danger that you pose to the indigenous, not just, and the danger that they pose to us too, because we haven't had any contact with them, we have no idea what kind of disease they may have.
Yep.
Right? Because it can go both ways, right?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
Totally can. Yeah, I was also talking about that too with my dad, like how, so segueing right into the next section of where we're talking about. Have you guys seen footage of this at all?
Yep.
Okay, so
No, I
Leprechaun, you
haven't,
know what's
but
going on. All right, Andrew, this was recently dug up in Siberia, Russia.
okay.
So let's listen. Let's see what they say. Oh, this one doesn't have vocals. This one's just words. I'll go back to Night God did one. I watched his, and his is really good. So we'll just.
I know this is going to sound like heresy, but no Warhammer game is complete without having the Tau as a playable faction. And apparently,
Did Russian construction workers really find one of the fallen angels? Well, 3 days ago on TikTok, this gentleman posted a very interesting video. The exact location of where the video took place is unknown, but what we do know is that it was somewhere in the Amur Oblast in Russia, near the city of Zia. In fact, in the video, it says they're within 340 kilometers of Zia. And what they allegedly dug up using an excavator is absolutely mind-blowing. And it should have the internet buzzing, but they've kept it under wraps up to this point pretty well. The fact that the video's in Russian probably has something to do with that. But I actually played the video and copied it to Microsoft Word and then used the translate tool. It's a rough translation, but it kind of gave you a gist of what was going on. In the video, it appears that two construction workers who work at a gravel pit seem to have stumbled upon this amazing, what looks like a statue. If you don't know what takes place at a gravel pit, they usually have a large excavator or loader digging up vast amounts of dirt, and then they dump them into what is behind this gentleman, a screener. The screener then separates the components of the dirt, making gravel. Then they sell it. In watching the video, you can see that the men pose for a picture and cannot believe what they have found. They do talk about repenting and some energy that they feel emitting from it. They also state something very interesting. They state that the comrades are on the way. that there's helicopters en route to pick up the object as they were taking the pictures. So they wasted no time in reporting it to authorities. And the authorities wasted no time in sending choppers to get said object. Truly, we're probably lucky this leaked at all. But when watching the video, I want you guys to pay close attention to the finite detail. Also, I want you to take notice. These gentlemen look of average height, 5'8" to 5'10". This thing is on its knees, so it's massive in height. But no more wasting your time talking. I gotta show you the video. Check it out.
This shit's crazy.
Вот это да. Короче, разрыли экскаватором такую, ну я скажу, эмоции просто не рассказать. Душа куда-то аж упрыгивает. Не знаю, конечно, не описать. Это просто не рассказать, почему так. Что это такое? Ну там сейчас на вертолете прилетят все эти дела. И вот пока не приехали все эти товарищи с ребятами, вырвались.
So I don't understand Russian very much either. He said the translation was pretty bad from his translators. So. But the guys seem really excited, but get really nervous that they found this thing.
One of the most amazing sculptures, if that's what it is, I've ever seen. Now, look at the finite detail, y'all. As far as even the wrinkles in his robe. Did you notice the string over top of his brim? The strings, seemingly petrified. Now, could it be a sculpture? Or you already know where I'm going with this. Could it be a real petrified fallen angel? Not necessarily that he's even a fallen. He may or may not be bad. He may be a good fallen angel. But nevertheless, could it be that it was once a real being, 10 to 12 feet tall, wings, truly powerful, and somehow got petrified? Now, obviously, this is for entertainment purposes only. This may or may not be true. I present the information and let you decide. But that being said, look at the wings and the way they connect to the back. Very interesting. Very interesting. If somebody did sculpt this, wow, amazing finite detail. I mean, this sculpture is one of the most realistic I've probably ever seen. And the other question is, how the heck did it get buried? Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of videos and different footage and stuff about this popping
Let me know
up.
what you think in the comments. Could this be an actual fallen angel? Could this be the real deal? Before I leave you, notice the hilt of the sword. In the video, you can see it's literally wrapped in cloth. The shield. It is amazing. Absolutely mind-blowing. Absolutely baffling. But yes, let me know what you think in the comments.
Tons of
Could this
interesting
be
stuff
the real deal?
related to this
Could this
too.
be a petrified fall?
So it's super crazy. The whole thing about it is just super crazy and super insane. But so it's really strange that right after two biblical prophecies are fulfilled, they find this odd stone angel in Siberia. Like it's just a really odd placement for this angel. It doesn't, because in that part of the world, like the Christian religion wasn't as rampant as we would think it would.
It's not there at all.
No, it's more Muslim and more Buddhist, and I mean, I don't really know what religion the Russians follow per se, but I would imagine that a large chunk of them did not follow Christianity. They had totally different belief system back then. Like the Russians, like I haven't looked too much into what their past belief systems are. Further past this one dude named Rasputin, like he was like the dude who turned them away from like the mystical side of things and kind of pushed them into Christianity or the Muslim religion. Or
that part of Siberia is basically borders on Mongolia and China. So
Yeah.
you're going to have a lot more of the Asian type religions. And I know that's horrible to say that to put it that way, but that's the area that they're in. And
Yeah.
my my whole take on it is um, again, it's still a very that depiction of whether it's a statue, whether it's a mummified remain, whatever um, it is still very much the atypical description of an angel, um, which again kind of throws me off, because if you actually read the Bible, angels, fallen angels, they're not nice, they're not happy creatures, they're not pretty. Um, so that's kind of
So
my
what we're getting,
more my question would be is what did they find around that statue? What did they find underneath that statue?
yeah, that's also a curiosity of mine. I've got more questions. Yeah,
We'll
definitely.
never
So,
know.
Ulan-Ude, Russia, the frigid steppes of Siberia are also considered the historical heartland of one of the world's oldest spiritual belief systems. Despite being driven to the edges of society, shamanism, the belief in good and evil spirits and rituals to appease them, has experienced a resurgence in years. So they would fall along the same lines of ancient Aboriginal tribalism type
Yeah,
religions is where their religions would probably fall in line with. So shamanism is the label they put on it, but I mean over here in America, it's the same. It would be
yeah,
considered the same with all the medicine men who practice the spiritual
yeah.
healing here in
And
America,
good
shamanism.
and the good and evil and yin and yang and
Uh,
equal and balance and all of
yeah.
that stuff.
And then they said, after shamanism, Islam and Christianity both existed for the last 400 or for the last 4 centuries, so 400 years or so. Islam and Christianity has been over in that part. So that's what I'm saying. When that angel would have been buried, there was no Christianity or Muslim religion within that spectrum. Of, so we could
Where did it
chalk
come
it
from?
yeah, like that's where I'm like, what are we thinking? Maybe some people running away, some refuges. They packed up that stone sculpture thinking it was worth protecting, or you know, it could actually be an actual petrified angel. Uh, that's
Well,
one theory.
yeah, and again, like I said, mm, I mean, yes, the statue is cool. Um, and yes, it's incredibly intricate and it's incredibly detailed. Um, but there's a lot more. This is one of those situations where it leaves me with a lot more questions than answers. And it leaves me in the position where it's like, okay, because I'm not like I don't consider myself an overly religious person. Yes, I have Christian beliefs, but I I'm not the person who goes to church on Sunday. Like I don't do those things. Like that's not me. Um, but I have done Bible study before, and I have read the Bible, and like I said before, angels are not nice beings. They're not pretty. They're not happy. Um, and again, I would be more interested to find out what is around the area that they found this statue, what's underneath it, what's around it, because something tells me that there's more there than just that.
Well, I promise you that gravel pit just got shut down.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean they're probably scouring every single stone that they are going to be looking at or picking up from that. They're everything. There's
Yeah,
not going to be.
everybody that just that worked at that gravel mine just applied for unemployment.
That's right.
Okay, so I know a couple episodes ago I showed you guys the electric rocks from Congo where they were hooking
Yeah,
lights up to it and showing you that it's just the rock and stuff. Well, did you also know at the same time those electric rocks were found, they literally found a mountain of gold in the Congo?
Yeah.
Like the reports are that like they have guards right now from the Congo government stationed and with orders of like shoot to kill and stuff on the land right now because when they found the gold, they didn't go to the government. The people just went and started raiding the mountain for the gold. Like they were just like picking up shirts full of dirt and running to water and rinsing this dirt, and literally the dirt was just like covering the gold.
Yeah.
Their shirts and everything that they were all like, it was like it's basically like something you hear about in stories or in a movie. Like it's very phantasmal that like this kind of like they were just like I watched them. They picked up a handful of rocks, what looked like rocks, and they put it in water on a shovel, and they swished it around, and then they poured the shovel into his hand, and it was all gold, just chunks and big chunks of gold. I was like, damn. I was like, that's insane. That's crazy. Like where did this come from? How come like we've always known that their mountains had gold in them, but this kind of a concentrate is crazy. It's a
Yeah.
weird level of concentrate.
Well, and again,
So
you gotta like it's all these different stories that you hear coming out of weird places where, and you're not really given a whole lot of background information. You just this is the story, and you're kind of left with it. But you know, I'm the kind of person who I ask questions, and I'm sitting there going, okay, well, yeah, okay, they found this concentration of gold, which would clearly be richer than any other ore deposit that's ever been found. How did we miss this up until this point? Right? Because I
right.
mean, we literally have people who scour the globe looking for ore deposits. We have satellites in space scanning landscapes for ore deposits, and this just miraculously showed up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just it boggles the mind. Like, and again, it's how much are we being drip fed? How much of this is truth? How much of this is just, like you said, phantasmal stories?
It just makes me think of, the legends of the cities of gold and stuff like that too, where, your mind just
Yeah.
gets to wander and play with it.
Oh, absolutely.
So I was just like, it was just one of those things that definitely felt very like, ooh, that's different, like interesting but different.
Yeah.
It's fun little side thing to talk about, like, and just to imagine one day waking up and being one of those people that were there and found out that the rocks they've been walking on this whole time were worth all that money and stuff. Like that's just
Yeah.
crazy.
And especially for some place like the Congo where, poverty is such a common thing. Like, you know, like even the poorest family in North America has it better than the poorest family in the Congo, right? Like,
Yeah.
there are tons of people in the Congo that are literally still living in mud huts. So,
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's gonna happen with that? That's
unfortunately, the people that have the power are going to walk in, take over, and there's nothing anybody can do.
no, it's sad.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things where like they should, now that they know it's there, they should go through with like some ground penetrating radar or something and really find out how much gold there is. And then they should turn it into like what they do for my culture is we get what's called a land allotment. Okay, so the Native Americans here in Minnesota, we get so much swampland, so much mountain land. So it's really weird how it's like divvied up. But I've looked at my grandma's when I was younger, and her land allotment was pretty good. Like she had 40 acres, like is what her land allotment was, but it was like 5 acres of swamp, 10 acres of prairie, 3 acres of this and that. So it wasn't the greatest, but what I did notice about it is like that's something they could use in a place like that where you feel like those people are just going to get completely shafted while their government programs where once they find out how much gold is there, they'll know how much value to set on it to where they can divvy it up between each member of their country.
We know that won't happen though.
No, it probably
Yeah,
won't. But
I was going. I couldn't agree more, Leprechaun, because like unfortunately these ultra poor countries, you know, they're military dictatorships. They're
Yep.
these people are driven by greed and money and hunger for power, and if they don't think about screwing over the next guy. They don't care about that. That's not even that doesn't even enter their mind.
No.
No, it doesn't.
And I mean it's sad that's the world we live in, but because we like to think that we're enlightened, but when push comes to shove, are we that enlightened?
No, it's ugly. I mean,
Yeah.
look at any apocalyptic movie. I mean, look at how fast, how ugly we get, and how fast it gets that ugly.
Absolutely.
I just finished watching The Walking Dead, like the full show all the way through, and it never gets better, bro. It never gets better. Like that's the one heartbreaking thing about that whole movie is it never gets better.
And it's heartbreaking because at the outset they have these ideals that if we band together we can make it better for everyone, and little by little throughout the series they lose that. Little by little they lose it, and eventually it's all gone, and it's right back to every man for himself.
I mean, all it takes is one bad apple to ruin the batch. You could have we could have a band of 20 people that all have the same goals and the same ideas, and all it takes is one person to be just hurt enough to drop all of their morals and say, "Fuck you guys! I'm about to take all of the fucking water and food rations. I'm out of here. You guys are screwed. Me and my kids are good."
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is like, I think a lot of people who are enlightened people, you got to understand that even though there are good people,
what is this guy
good
over here
people
doing?
do bad things.
Yeah.
And the road is paved with good intentions, but when push comes to shove, good intentions go right out the window.
Yep.
I consider myself to be a good person. I will help people. I will back people up. All of that stuff. I will give you the shirt off my back if that's what it means. But I also am smart enough and honest enough with myself to know that I do have a darker side. And if it means protecting my wife and my kids, and I have to go to that darker side, well, maybe I'm gonna have to go down that dark path.
Yeah. Put a knife to one of my daughter's throats and see how fast my good morals go out the window.
Exactly. Right. Like I have a 13 and a 7-year-old daughter. Like, go ahead. You put one of them in danger. You want to see me turn into that ugly human being? I'm coming.
Yep. Hulk smash.
Yeah, Hulk smash. Abso-frickin-lutely. But I mean that is people. Like, I mean that is.
Well, I mean that's that balance. I'm a big believer of that balance of good and evil, bad and good. I mean. I mean, there is that balance, just as great and wonderful as I know I can be. I can go just as easily the other way. I mean,
yeah, and that's what I mean by that, right? Like, I'm a super nice guy. right? Like if you were to meet me on the street and all that kind of stuff, I wouldn't think
God.
twice about having a conversation with you. The flip
Yep.
side to that is that you put someone in danger that I care about, that super nice guy is going to turn around and you're going to see the darkest individual on the planet.
Nope.
Everything has death touch. That's whack.
Yeah.
That's so whack. Everything has. Me and Craig are
Yeah.
playing a game against each other right now. You can't.
Yeah, I will go, I will be the it's that whole I'm a Jedi 99% of the time, but there's that 1% of the time where I'm a Sith.
Yep. No, absolutely. And I mean, and we're all that way. I mean, that's why I think, just to kind of wrap it back. I mean, when you're in these countries where they don't have, as much of the, opportunity, resources, or, structures laid down, it's a lot easier for people to be uglier than beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, you look in the right places, you can find that beauty, but there's a lot of corruption and a lot of sad stories in those places.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, even here in North America, whether it's down in the States or up here in Canada, right? Like I'll be real, if I'm walking down the street and I see an envelope and I bend down and I pick it up and I open that envelope up and there's $1,000 in it. And I look around and there's nobody there. There's no name on the envelope. Well, I'm $1,000 richer.
I mean, even if there is a name on that envelope, I mean, depending on how much my pockets are hurting, I might be just chucking that envelope on the ground and walking away with that $1,000 and getting caught up on a couple bills or buying some groceries.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I mean,
groceries.
and I'm not, it's not because I'm an evil person, but it's human nature. It's human nature to want to try and protect the ones we love and take care of the things we need to take care of. Right? So it kind of puts you in a shitty spot.
Yep. No.
All right, last one. Warzone Duplicator prototype. When Warzone Duplicator enters the battlefield, certain target creature and opponent controls a power less than Warzone Duplicator's power to its owner's hand. That creature wasn't a token. Conjure a duplicate of it into your hand. It perpetually gains. You may spend mana as though we're a mana of any color to cast. Oh, that's dope. Make a token that can go to your hand. There's got to be something you can do with that.
Oh yeah,
There's got to be something grody you can.
That will get abused here real soon in the next few sets, I think.
Yeah, that's grody. Oh yeah.
until Wizards of the Coast decides to nerf it and
Yeah, it takes them 6 months to come out with a ban list, so I think it'll annoy some people for a while. Are we gonna run another one?
It's like when Armageddon and Wrath of God came out in 3rd edition way back in the day. Those 2 cards were absolutely hated. And they were on, it wasn't even 6 months when they were on till they were on the banned list for any competition.
Mm-hmm. I tried to look you up and it says you're offline. Oh no, you're back.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So I actually remember back in the day when Armageddon and Wrath of God first came out, and I went to a competition to a Magic competition, and some kid, he ended up drawing Armageddon and Wrath of God in the starter pack for the competition, and he was so stoked that he pulled them, and then all of a sudden he stopped and he realized that I just got like 2 of the best cards in the game and I can't use them at the comp. And he's like, son of a bitch.
It's crazy the way this game has grown. I mean, some of
especially in
it,
the last 5-6 years here.
some
Oh,
of it's
yeah.
really cool, but some of it can be really annoying when you get into the competitive stuff. I mean, like counter spells and stuff. Had its purpose when the game came out, but now there's so many copies. When you're playing Commander and stuff, you can just shut somebody down with them completely.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I played. The last time I played would have been Ice Age was just coming out.
that's a,
It's Ice
that's
Age.
a
What's that? We're talking like
that's
that
20 years ago.
99.
Yeah, yeah, like
Yeah.
99, 2000 was probably about the last time I played.
I still got all my old Ice Age cards.
Oh,
Got all the
I have all of my cards. So all of my third edition revised, like I have like 4 original Sarah's Angels from
Yep.
back in the day because I had a white blue deck that just and it was an anti-magic flying creature deck. And trust me, I could destroy crap.
That was usually the annoying deck too. People got
Oh
easily
yeah.
annoyed of that deck.
Oh, people hated playing that deck. They would look at me and go, "Are you playing your white and blue deck?" And I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "Never mind, I'm not playing."
Yeah, mine was a red and black, just burn and flying demon deck back then, and it was nasty.
Yeah, I
I also,
ran worms back when I was younger. That was my play style. Big worms.
yeah. See, I always like the other deck I had was green and red, and it was sprites and goblins. So it was super low hit point creatures,
Fast
but it was
though.
like casting costs of like 1 or 2 mana.
Hmm.
So you could just plow creatures out. And then you throw into the fact that, back then, you know, lightning bolt, you could have 4 lightning bolts in a deck and that was totally legit back then. And it's like, okay, well, each lightning bolt is 1 mana and I can do 3 points of damage. So 12 points of damage for 4 mana. That's pretty
Yep.
damn good.
Yep. I mean, you do that with a couple of sprites, you can just direct damage to a player and take their 20 life down in almost one turn.
Yeah. Yeah. So you'd have sprites and goblins, right? Like super low casting costs, creatures that you just blitz people with it. And before they could even get a creature out, you've got like 3 or 4 creatures out and you've nailed them with a couple of lightning bolts. And they're like, I can't do a damn thing.
Yep. Yeah, I was in 5th grade, and one of the kids bring like his cards to school, and we had like some downtime at the end of the day, and he taught anybody that wanted to learn how to play, and I was so sucked into it ever since.
Yeah. Yeah.
I stopped playing for a while in my teenage years when I was off being a rebel, but pretty much right around when I became a father, I was like, all right, I need a good healthy hobby again that I can sit down and do with friends. And we had been playing on Xbox a bunch. Then I looked at one button, I was like, hey man, this year for Christmas, we're buying each other some decks and we're gonna start sitting down and playing together at a table versus just playing over the systems.
Yeah.
And that got me, Mike, and a couple of other friends all really back into it, where we got together and we're just playing big groups again for now over 8 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean we plan our whole weekend around getting together and
Yep.
basically just playing Magic for 8 hours.
Yep.
Even if we only get 2 games in, we still plan a whole trip and everything because
Yep.
My 13-year-old daughter, um, this year in September when she started going to or at her middle school, the teachers actually put together a Dungeons and Dragons group.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, and my daughter she's always looked through, like she's always been kind of very fascinated with D&D, and so she always had my book, like my old second edition revised books that she would go through. And So she went and joined the D&D group, and I guess it would have been back in middle of October. She came up to me and she's like, "So, Dad, do you know how to run the game?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "So, if I invited a couple friends over, do you think you'd want to run a game?" So now Sunday afternoons we play D&D, and
That's
it's
cool.
yeah, I
How's
have a
that?
lot of fun with it because it allows me to bring out all of my old stuff and slowly update it to the new system, because unfortunately the kids can't wrap their head around the old system. But yeah, I've updated all my stuff, and I get to bring out all my old characters, my old NPCs and stuff like that, and yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I got totally screwed
Yeah, you
on
did.
this round. On this round, I didn't get no blue mana.
I was
got
wondering
no-
what was going on. I wasn't paying
Yeah.
attention to your land.
No, I didn't get no mana. So that's it. That's all I got. You got me. Good game on that one. Yeah, I officially have a teenager in the house
Yeah.
as of 32 minutes ago.
Hey.
My son is 13 today. That's pretty cool. We're gonna do the little family thing today that we normally do every year, and then Saturday we're gonna have that laser tag party for him.
1 o'clock, right?
Noon
No.
to 2. Yep.
Yep. We'll be there.
Awesome. Yeah,
Well, guys.
he's super excited about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna have to excuse myself, guys, because I got an early morning start here, but it's been a blast as always.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm sure I will see you guys later on this week.
Absolutely.
All right, take it easy, guys.
All right, talk to you later. So here's the new toy that we have in at my house.
This is VR.
Yep. This is me a couple days ago. So I play this game until I'm sweating bullets.
Hey, that's a good workout.
Yeah, man. I've been wanting to talk to you because I know you've been more into fitness your whole life and stuff, but bro, I'm gaining weight.
I saw it when you got up, man. I saw it, man. I've been, I've been, an athletic person, but believe me, man, pushing on 40, I'm feeling it too. We're online, so I'm not gonna put my whiteboard, up for the world to see, but because I don't know. I guess I don't know if I told you this or not, but I lost my main job.
Yeah, you talked to me about that already.
Yeah, so I've been having a little bit more free time, and working a job making way less money, unfortunately, but at least it's something. But with my extra free time, I've been putting together a checklist of things that I want to get done, and then daily things that I want to get done. And the very first thing I put on my daily things was a workout, some type of a workout plan. I mean, even if it's just starting off by me doing I got a weighted jump rope. And so even if it's just me doing that for about 10 minutes and then just doing some crunches and push-ups, just something to get my muscles jumping again. But it's go time, man. If I don't get a wrap on it now, it's just gonna go downhill even further and faster.
I feel like I started last summer trying to get a handle on it and everything, but as it got too cold out, I just stopped going on my walks and stuff. But this March, I think end of February, beginning of March, I'll be able to start going on my walks again. But I've been doing this Beat Saber.
I'm gonna say doing this is, that's cardio. Your body's moving, you're sweating, you're burning. You do that and just watch your eating habits. You know what I mean? That's my biggest thing. I mean,
I think I know
you've seen the way I eat. Like I'll make a plate that I shouldn't even be eating, and then I'll make a whole nother plate because I eat so damn fast. My body doesn't know I'm full, and I'm eating a whole nother plate that size. And I've been cutting way back. Obviously you got to eat to keep energy, but I've been cutting down to where really just eating about 2 meals. And I've really stepped up my water drinking game. I never drank a lot of pop to begin with, so that was never a problem. But I've been with bottled water. I mean, there was a couple of days where I was just so broke I couldn't afford lunch when I was at the job before I got fired. And I was drinking, 4 or 5 bottles of water while I was at work, just so my stomach started hurting. Like, all right, let me get some water in me. And then when I got home, I'd eat, a dinner. And because my stomach's shrinking, because I wasn't eating that much, I wasn't eating as big a portions, which I think helped some. But it's go time, man. We got to do it.
Yeah, and just like since I started doing this VR workout, I've been doing it pretty much almost the whole month of January. Like the first week of January. I'm sore as fuck, man. Like, I've already got bad ankles and stuff. So that has been like one of the bigger drawbacks. But I still get up every day at the same time and do the same amount of gameplay on this, and I bring myself to pretty much the same amount of sweating and everything every time too. Like from head to toe, I'll be sweating, out of breath, ready to be done. I'll be checking it, and usually I stick to 50 minutes to an hour. I go right into that time frame. I figured that's a good. To me, it just passes by so fast it doesn't feel like it's happening anyways, because my brain is occupied with having fun, and that's the best part about using the VR. But this summer, my goal for this summer when I go walking is going to be, we're going to be doing timed walks. So walk as far as you can in 10 minutes. Don't run. Don't power walk. Just walk. Walk as far as you can in 10 minutes. And then by the end of the month, you should be able to be walking further, normal pace. You should be walking further in that same 10 minutes by the end of the month. That's my goal. That's what I've got is like my setup goal right now for my weight loss and everything. And so it's going to go 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And hopefully like by the end of fall next year, I'll be at like between a 20 and 30 minute walk. And then I can slowly taper it off in the wintertime and try and get walks in, or I might even just go out and find some cheap bike or something just to do my 30 minutes worth of walking.
And when you do that, you get some type of a little pedal bike or something like that. The best thing you can do is put that thing in front of a TV and watch, a show that you like and just zone out into that. You know what I mean?
Yep, and just keep the cardio going. Yep.
Game, you won't even realize it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The episode or the 45-minute episode or hour episode will end, and you'll be like, "Oh, all right." Like I'm sweating a little, but I didn't. It'll just burn by you where you're not thinking about it. It's all
right.
It's all mastering the mind. Trick yourself.
Yeah, and so that's what I do every night after the kids go to bed. From like 9:30 to 10:30 is my workout time. Yeah. So I'm like, hey, that's like perfect time. I put the kids to bed, go sneak a couple puffs, and then come out here, do my exercising, get done with my exercising, and it's just in time to start the podcast. And then after I get done with the podcast, I can go hit the shower and go to bed. Like that's gonna try and be my new thing.
I've been trying to go old school with it, and after every match, like Fortnite with Kiriana or something, or with Dustin, I just drop down and hit 10 push-ups.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. I like that. I remember all of us used to do that.
Oh,
shit
dude, me and Jeremiah used to do shit like that religiously. Like, that loser's got to push 10.
Yep. I remember that. Oh man, the old days.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Good old carefree days. I actually had to have a really long talk with Autumn this weekend. Both kids had a rougher Saturday, and I just had to, just kind of break some things down for her. Like, sweetie, you're living the easiest part of your life right now, whether you realize it or not.
I know. Oh yeah, dude.
No shit ain't fun. It ain't easy. It has its benefits, but it's not it's not what you think it is, sweetheart. It's
Yeah.
because she struggles just with just being told to do things she doesn't want to do. And I'm like, you think I want to go to work? I want to get up and go to work. I do things that I don't want to do all the time. I do it because I have to. I do it because if I didn't go to work, we wouldn't be eating and we wouldn't have a place to sleep. Like these aren't things I want to do. I don't wake up in the morning like, heck yeah, I'm going to work and I'm gonna bleed. Damn it! Like,
right? Yeah.
I gotta get up and do it again. Let's go. All right.
Yeah, I've had to have some talks with Dustin and Caden about some things. For them, it's like a totally different. For me and my kids, it's a totally different dynamic because, they're growing up with both mom and dad in the house.
Yep.
But at the same time, they know they have two siblings that don't live in the house with them. So that dynamic is crazy.
One of the first things I said to her, when we were, she's, one of her things is she's not feeling loved enough was kind of one of the subjects that she brought up. And I was just like, sweetie, I was like, you're my first child. Like, you have no idea how much I love you and how much you changed my world when you came into this place. And she was like, no, she was like, Lalana was your first kid. And I'm like, sweetheart, like, Lalana is your mom's first kid. I'm not Lalana and Jackson's father. Like, there's a reason you don't see them at my house on the weekends. Like, I would have them all the time, just like I have you as much as possible if they were my kids. Like, she was confused. She didn't, understand.
She didn't know. Yeah, okay.
And I've told her this before, but I don't, hopefully it clicked this time. It's like, no, sweetie, like, those are your mother's kids. Just like Luna is me and, Monica's kid. I was like, it's like, Lana and Jackson is your mom's kids with another man. Like, it's just had, kind of like, I don't know. It's progress. They're amazing.
Yeah, it's very interesting dealing with that. And like I said, for me, it's, I have to like tell my children what sounds like I'm telling them horror stories, but it's like I'm actually telling them like what actually happened in my childhood. But they just look at me like, you're never going to do that to us, are you? Like I was like, I threatened last week Dustin wouldn't eat something I put on his plate. And I threatened to make them eat ramen noodles and bologna sandwiches all next summer. I was not kidding. I was like, you don't understand. Like it won't be an option. I won't put anything in this house except for ramen noodles and bologna and bread. I said,
and that loaf of bread might have some mold on it. I'm just going to peel that mold off and give you the rest of the bread.
Yeah, I was like, it's not a. We did not, and it's not even going to be Oscar Mayer bologna. It's going to be Starling bologna. Like we going cheap too. No, it was good. I told them, I was like, look, you kids don't understand. Dad, I get upset when my kids don't eat their food and throw it away because it's like when I was their age, food was like one of those things that is like you don't waste food. Like food got eaten. Like all of us, we ate everything mom cooked that night. Like because part of it was we didn't eat lunch or breakfast. The other part is we were so poor that the one meal a day that mom could afford to cook us, we appreciated it so much that even if we didn't like eating it, we ate as much as we could just to fill up, just to show mom that we appreciated her, those types of things. And I like tell my kids, I was like, so that kind of upsets your dad's feelings when your dad works really hard to provide good quality food for you. Like, dude, I don't cook my kids crappy food. Like,
not at all. I love it when you come over and cook in my house. I down.
Yeah, so
you hear Kiriana back, she's like, I agree.
So I just when I think about it, I'm like, man, you guys are spoiled because you don't even know.
Oh,
like
man.
My mom was not a classically trained chef, so the food she was cooking was more like whatever she could learn to cook,
Oh, dude, my kids are lucky, with the people that I have around me because outside of breakfast, I'm not getting fancy. Like you're getting some real, you'd be getting some real basic meals. I mean, I could get adventurous and make some good food. I'm not saying that, but when it comes to me cooking a good meal, I know that breakfast is my specialty. That's I'll throw down a full buffet for you for breakfast because that's my favorite meal.
Oh yeah. I
But
don't really
yeah.
have a specialty. I just love to cook.
No,
give
you
me
got
food
it. You
and
got it.
ingredients, and
Yep.
know.
No, you.
Yep.
But I mean, you know what I mean. And I didn't grow up the same as you in that sense. I mean, I was an only child. My parents weren't wealthy, but they were able to get by with me and feed me well enough to where I really didn't have to deal with the same struggles. But through my friends, I saw it. I mean.
Yeah.
Going over to Kiriana's dad's house when all four of the kids and some of the grandkids were all living in the same house together and going over there and eating with them, or even when Jeremiah came to live with me, you know what I mean? Just kind of seeing how much he appreciated the food, I was observant enough to kind of see it in that sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, for you, like, it's cool that you have that different perspective on things because, like I said, I'm a parent that's trying to be the example of that the whole societal's structured mom, dad, raise the kids up that way type of thing and not being in a separate home. But then at the same time, my two kids are like, but I have older sisters and they don't live with us. And that's where it like gets really interesting for my family is because it's like, well, yeah, dad made some choices and didn't, I didn't really want to stay with those women because they didn't treat me very good. It's just point blank. It was, I'm not going to sugarcoat it anymore or lie about it. I wasn't being treated good. And having a child with somebody does not mean you need to be treated like trash. Like that's something that needs to be clearly said. And how I feel about it is everybody deserves to be treated nicely.
It ain't happy wife, happy life. It's happy
spouse, happy house. Damn
right.
I agree with that. And communication gets you a long way.
Yep,
it really does. Communication gets you a long way in a relationship. And me and Eileen were just talking about that, man. We're going on 13 years married and 15 years together. For me, hey, that's a lot of people told us our relationship wasn't going to last a year. People were like, "Oh, you guys are just, it's a."
I remember when the first time I met her. I was over at Matt Man's house, bullshitting on the stoop with him, and you and her were walking down 34 towards Crosstown or Tom Thumb. I don't remember which one, and running up on you and bullshitting with you for a second, smoking a cigarette.
Nope.
No.
That's a long time. That's a long time ago. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man. Oh, stomping around on 34th Avenue. That's
you had
days.
elephant pants on and fucking probably a leather jacket.
Yeah, that's back when I was wearing that big, huge leather trench coat everywhere I went. And Mr. Tibbs chewed it up on me, and I couldn't wear it anymore after that because he chewed up the whole arm. So it would have looked like I had just gotten out of like a big sword fight or something. The Highlander. There can only be one, But yeah, I remember that. Wow, that's a long, long time ago. I was like right when I stopped being a fuck all person. Because I mean, when you first met me, that's the attitude I had when you first met me. You were one of the first people that like told me I mattered. Like you and Nick were the first two like big brother types that were like, no, dude, you matter, dude. You need to start like changing the way you think about it. Like, because I was like 13, 14, and you guys were already 17, 18, had some sort of sense of what I was going through. I was just going through a real shit time. And that's when I had met you guys, and it was just like,
you had just gotten back from Tennessee.
Yeah, the first time. Yep, I had just gotten back from Tennessee, and it was just like it's just really hard on me, Like it was one of those situations where like I wasn't even living with my dad; I was living with grandma and stuff like that. So it was just totally crazy. Oh man, thinking about all that stuff, dude. I had a thought about Grandma the other day. We were getting out of the truck, and one of the kids slammed the car door real loud. And, oh, it's the funny thing. My grandma used to holler at us all the time when we would slam a car door. She'd be like, "Don't slam that car door!" You know, so that just instantly came out when I stood up out of the car. I was like, "Hey, don't slam that car door!" And Eileen starts giggling, and the kids are like, "Oh no, Dad's mad." But I explained to him, I was like, "Yo, you know, my grandma used to say that, and you guys slamming the door reminded me." The kids were like, "Oh, okay." And those experiences are so fun.
We had a good crowd in our neighborhood.
We did. We had such a
Diverse crowd.
It was diverse, and it was like at that right time period for all
We
of us.
clicked so hard.
Was,
I mean, we had all of our own little bubbles and little cliques, but we all clicked together without any problem or issues. I mean, there were no big there were no big fights, you know, other than a couple between the cliques and anything like that. I mean, I wish we would have had, you know, some of the stuff we have nowadays just to have some of that documented and put back on.
All that stuff, all that stuff and shit we used to get into and do, man, that I could definitely vouch for that. But at the same time, I'm glad we don't, because a lot of that stuff could have. You know,
it would have been the same. It would have changed us. It would have been the same memories. Hey, no, I'm gonna jump on some Fortnite with Kiri before she starts passing out. And
cool.
Good times as always. I'll catch you later.
Awesome. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Glad you guys did, and I will talk to you on Saturday. Well, I'll see you Thursday or Friday for the show, but definitely talk to you on Saturday. And Kiana's more than invited to come if she wants to.
Same thing with Thursday, on Saturdays.
Same thing with Daniel. You can make Daniel come if you want. And
I'll let him know.
Yep. Awesome.
I don't know if he will, but we'll
Daniel's
see.
family too, you know. So
yep, absolutely.
And so all right, love you all, and talk to everybody later. Thank you everybody out there in Video World Land for coming to hang out with us at WebC Official and watch the Late Night Load. And we will see you